Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper. And today I've got a card to share with you using some of the Saleabration product, which is open until the end of February the 29th this year. We have an extra day in February. And a new product from the spring seasonal catalogue. So the thing I'm going to show you today is this embossing folder here. Hopefully you can see that. It's a duo, so it's called the Thoughtful Moments Hybrid Embossing Folder. It's a bit of a mouthful. And it comes with a die which cuts out your phrases for you. Let me just show you. So that's on page 18 of the mini catalogue. So if I show you the actual thing. So this is the embossing folder. So it's a 6x6 square embossing folder, and it comes with these dies. You can see where I've taken it off. So you've got this die that fits inside the embossing folder, so you can do two things at once, or you can just use it to cut out the edge after you've embossed with the embossing folder. But what you need to remember is that if you run a piece of embossed cardstock through your cut and emboss machine after it's been embossed, it will flatten the embossing out. So that's why the clever people have made this to do it all in one. It also has, if I take that main die off, it also has these cute little dies. So there's some stars, some little clouds, there's two lots of clouds, two rainbows, some stars, and then you've got some little hearts. And then over this side, there's some little florals and some little leaves. So you get quite a lot with it. So for today, the card that we're going to make is shamelessly cased from Emma Ryder over at Craft with Emma. One of our lovely Scottish demonstrators. I saw her do this on her live, and I thought this would make a really good card. She used some different papers, but she did use this folder. She also showed a couple of different ways of using it. So maybe hop over to see hers on her Facebook Live. So that's Craft with Emma, and you'll find her on Facebook. Okay, so the papers that I'm using are Saleabration papers, and these are called Flight and Airy. I have shown you these in my unboxing video, but there's lots and lots of different birds, florals. There are some on the backs of some of them. There's some of these really nice sort of inky papers. So those are free with a £45 spend. They've got lots of lovely colours in. So for those of you that didn't know, and I'm sure most of you do, on the back of our designer series papers, hopefully you can see that, it will tell you what colours are included. So we've got boho blue, bubble bath, calypso coral, crumb cake, daffodil delight, flirty flamingo, fresh freesia, garden green, lost lagoon, misty moonlight, pecan pie, and soft sea foam. So there is a good range of colours in there. So I'm going to bring my bits and pieces in. So on this card, I've used a boho blue base. So that's half of an A4 sheet if you're in the UK or wherever else uses A4. If you're in the States and you use letter size, it's half of your standard sheet. Okay, so I've got a spare one here. Okay, so what I've done, I've got my C6 card base, and then I've got a piece of the Flight and Airy paper, and that is 4 inches by 4 inches. And this is something that I'd forgotten about until Emma did it in her Facebook Live. So thank you for reminding me, Emma. So what we want to do is we want to cut that diagonally across so that it fits, but gives us a gap to put that sentiment in. So what we need to do, obviously, if you've got a directional paper, make sure it's the right way up. This is a directional paper. So I'm going to be marking on the left and the right of this paper with the birds facing the right way up. So what we need to do is mark at 1 inch from one side and then 1 inch from the opposing side. So I'm going to just put a little pencil mark on the edge there. So that's 1 inch from the bottom. And on this side, we're going to mark 1 inch from the top with a pencil mark, which can then be rubbed out if need be. So you can see I've got a mark there. You would be able to see if something wasn't... Oh, my camera mount. I'm sorry about that. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Okay. I'm not quite sure what I've done to get that. I'll fiddle in a minute. So we've got a mark from 1 inch down from the right hand side and 1 inch up from the left hand side. Right, let me just see if I can move my camera down. I'm really sorry about that, guys. There we go. There we go. We got rid of that now. Sorry about that. Okay, so what we're then going to do, we're going to put our piece of cardstock in our trimmer. And what we're going to do, we're going to line up the 2 marks we've just made. So there's our inch from the top and there's our inch from the bottom, and you want those in the middle of your cutting track. And then I'm just going to cut across. So we've got our 2 pieces. Sorry birdies for chopping your heads off. Okay, so then what we're going to do, this is going to go on the front of our card. So that piece will go at the bottom and that piece will go at the top, but it's quite plain like that. Emma used some of the new boho blue sort of ruffled ribbon. I don't actually have that yet. So on my original card, I used some Starry Sky glitter ribbon that came out when those particular ink colours came out. But it's quite thin, so I had to use 2 pieces, and even then it was difficult to get the glue underneath. So on this card, we're going to use something that's thicker to avoid us having to do that. I'm just trying to decide. Now, I haven't got many ribbons from the mini seasonal catalogue yet, so I'm going to use something that is probably retired. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Oh, it might be. I've got this really nice centre stripe ribbon, but I can't remember if it came out of this catalogue or not. Let's have a little look at the back of the catalogue, and that should tell us. No, I don't think I did. No, that must have come out of either the annual catalogue or the retired autumn catalogue. Anyway, I've got it. It hasn't been used, so we're going to use it. Okay, it's not a Christmassy one. I'm just hoping it's going to be a little bit wider if I can ever get the plastic off. I understand why the people at Stampin' Up! Do cover our ribbons in plastic, because otherwise they'd get grubby, they'd unwind themselves, but it's a faff getting it off. There's supposed to be a piece of tape at some point, and I can never find it. And usually you can pinch it and get your scissors under the plastic. There, done it. Okay, and then it'll come off. Right, so we can get rid of that. Okay, so this is the ribbon. It's got that nice piece of stitching down the middle, and I'm hoping that it's about the right size. If I've guessed correctly and looked at the measurement, the width is 3/8 of an inch. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the same width. So I'm just getting out a silicone sheet here. Really handy these are. For putting gluey things on, because what you need to do is put your glue on your paper before you stick it onto your card, otherwise you won't be able to level it up. So I'm using a Stampin' Seal, and I'm hoping, yeah, it's more or less the right width for that ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I just get one edge of my Stampin' Seal off the edge of the paper, which is not easy to do. Oh, come on. Not easy to do without getting my head in your shot. There we go. Okay, so then hopefully we should be able to get our ribbon along the edge without having any glue sticking out. if by any chance you do have a little bit of glue sticking out, and I have got a bit here, I must have wobbled. If you use glue rubber, sadly we don't sell these anymore. I keep hoping they'll bring them back. Pull it towards you. Hold the cardstock either side with your fingers and thumb, and pull it gently towards you. Then you won't ruck up the paper. Okay, and that should have got. Just feel along, because otherwise when your recipient tries to get the card out of the envelope, it'll be stuck to the envelope. Okay, and I'm just gonna trim that off. I've not done that very level, that's why it's we had a bit of glue coming out. Okay, and then we're going to repeat the same process on the bottom piece with our stamp and seal. Okay, let's put that lid back on. Doesn't matter what I do with my stamp and seal, it all gets really gooey. Okay, and then we can put a piece on this side. Now the only disadvantage to that with the piece of cardstock I'm using is I've blocked the heads off of the birds, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, so let's just get our snips out of the way and the ribbon out of the way. You don't have to put ribbon on the edge, I just thought it finished it off nicely. Okay, so let's get our glue rubber out of the way and remove our silicone sheet. Silicone sheets are great for glue, obviously, because it doesn't stick to it, but they're also handy for using your blending brushes as well, because being silicone you can just rinse it straight off. Okay, so we've got our two pieces with our ribbon, and it would help if I got them the right way up, wouldn't it? Don't want to stick them up the wrong way. So one piece is going to go there and one piece is going to go there. Now the only thing I have noticed, because I scored this cardstock, it's not meeting at the top properly, so I'm just going to adjust that. That. Okay, then we're going to stick these on with Tombow. So I'm going to run the Tombow just over the cardstock. Obviously you don't want it coming through your ribbon, and less is always more, because it always squidges when you press it down. I'm just making sure that I've got that the right way up, and then we're going to put some Tombow on this one as well. Okay, and I always store my Tombow upside down, so the glue is always at the pointy end ready for me to use, and that piece is going to go on here. Okay, right, so I don't want you to have to listen to me grunting and groaning as I put this through the die cutting machine. So I've already die cut some pieces for us to use. So I just wanted to show you how to put this together. So this is the embossing folder. So this is the debossed side, and this is the embossed side. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that your cutting edge on the die is facing towards the back when you've put your cardstock in. I find it easier to lock it into the front. And then if you lay it over the left-hand side of your die, you can feel it, because this side is raised and this is debossed. You can feel, no, this is raised, but the edges here, you can feel it lock in, and you can see that's not going to go anywhere. Then what I do is put my piece of cardstock over the back of this and then close it down. With Stampin' Up! Embossing folders, it's always advisable to run the hinge edge in first. And if I, hopefully you can see that, if I, there we go. If I hold that like that, you can see that it's a V shape, and that helps the folder go through easier than if you try to put it through sideways or that way, because you'll end up with a blunt edge to go through first. It's always easier to have that shaped edge to go through first, and you should always run a Stampin' Up folder through with the Stampin' Up logo on the front. Okay, so as I said, I don't want you to have to listen to me getting cross with that, because it is, if you do watch Emma's video, you'll see it is on the limit really of the plates to go through the Stamp and Emboss machine. You never ever want to force a die, an embossing folder through your machine, because you'll do your machine some damage. And I've found exactly the same as Emma. I mean, you can see, look, it's curved it trying to get it through, whereas that was completely flat. And this is the first time I've used this folder, so that was how it came out of the packet. So do be very careful. If it feels like you're trying to force it through, then you need to have a look at the sandwich. Obviously use the sandwich that's advised if you've got a Stampin' Up stamp and cut and emboss machine. If you're using a different machine, obviously use the advice given by the manufacturer, but be aware that you may have to change the sandwich somewhat. Okay, so I ran a few of these through with some blue. So this is Starry Sky. And then I also ran some through with Shimmery White, which is what this is. And I don't know if you can pick up the shine on there. It's quite subtle, the shimmer in there. But this is what I'm going to use today. And I was going to use my blends. Emma uses her blends in hers. On this card, I've used a blending brush and some Starry Sky ink, just going over lightly to catch the raised sections more. But on this one, Sparkly White is not actually white. Shimmery White, sorry, is not actually white. It's more of a creamy colour. And I actually like that creamy colour against this creamy ribbon. So we're going to leave that plain. But you could, Emma very carefully used her blends just to highlight the actual letters themselves. As I said, on this one, I've used a blending brush and some ink. So you could equally, if you cut this with plain white, basic white, you could go over the letters with a Wink of Stella pen. But I want to use it like that. And you can see they all come out really nicely embossed. So this is, what's that one say? Oh, happy day. We've got thank you. You make me happy. Just because. It's quite nice, but a bit small for that gap, I feel. And then we've got, with sympathy, we've got a get well as well. So we've got lots of different options, but on my card this time, I'm going to use the hello. Actually, I just wanted to say on here, the Celebrate is cut separately, but the you I've actually cut from this Love You here, because I thought Celebrate You was quite nice. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to pop this up on some dimensionals, and I'm going to use the mini dimensionals for this. You probably could get away with a few of the bigger ones, but I think the mini ones probably fit. If you've got edges on your larger dimensionals to cut down, then that's a perfect use. Okay. Now, anybody that watches my videos will know that I don't use a ton of dimensionals, because whilst our dimensionals are very good, they're not the cheapest in the world. They are worth the money, in my opinion, but I like to be frugal with them. Okay, and it drives me mad in my house. I end up with dimensional backings everywhere. I'm lucky enough to have a separate craft room, and that's where I do all my card making, but I don't know how they spread themselves around the house. Okay, so I've just put, I think I've got 5 on the back there, and I'm just going to pop that in our gap there. It's going to overlap the ribbon slightly, and I can see the shimmer, but I can't actually get it to shimmer to show you, unfortunately. But there's our card. So the only extra thing I'll do with that is pop a white insert in, and I've used all my white inserts up, so I've got to sit and cut some, but I will put a white insert in the middle. Yeah, there's our two cards. Okay, so I hope you like the video, and I hope you will give it a try. As I said, if you want to see some of the variations that Emma did, pop over to see her on Craft with Emma. And if not, I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting.